Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. Out at the range today with heavy metal. This is a continuation of my series on 264 Win Mag. So, check this out. I wasn't even looking for this thing, but I found it at Tolliver's. Shout out to Tolliver's. And I said, yep, I gotta have it and we gotta have some videos on it. So what this is a Remington 700 Sendero. It's got that long, heavy fluted barrel, 26-inch barrel with the black in the threads there. And I've done a couple videos on this already. I brought you guys along with me picking the thing up. We did some chronograph tests already and I sighted it in. This is a continuation of that series where I'm doing some more blue light testing. So, like I said, this thing is sweet. It's got a really nice trigger. I got a nice Arkin on top. This is an Arkin EPL4. You guys that watch the show for any amount of time know I'm a fan of the Arkins. Affordable, awesome scopes, and with code WHOTEEWHO, everybody, you and me, gets 25% off of everything Arkin. But yeah, let me show you the groups I got so far, and then I'll show you what we're going to be testing today, and then I'll meet you back at 100 yards. So check this out. So here's what I sighted it in with. This is some 140 grain PPU, and these are lead tips. And out of everything that I chronoed, this was the slowest. This was only like 2,800 some feet per second, which if you're going that slow, you might as well have a 6.5 Creedmoor. But I got a 1.5 inch group. Don't know what happened there because I followed it up directly afterwards and got a 0.44 inch group with the same stuff. So far, this thing flings them pretty good. Now the next two, this is what I have to test today. 140 grain is pretty much just about all you'll find in 264 Win Mag. I've got some Winchester Super X. Those were the fastest. Those were going almost 3,200 feet per second. These were kind of in the middle as far as speed goes. These HSMs, which are hollow point boat tails, these are lead tips. But let's go back to 100 yards, see if these Winchesters or these HSMs can beat a 0.4 inch group. I kind of doubt it. 0.4 is starting to get into, wow, that's kind of banana pants and extremely good precision. But don't know till we try, and that's why we're doing this video. And we'll kind of know what that thing likes the best at the end. So I'll meet you back at 100 yards. Let's do some more groups with this Remington 700 Sendero in 264 Winchester Magnum. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, what in the world is a 264 Winchester Magnum? Well, it's not as popular anymore. It used to be more popular, but I did a video recently. Definitely go check it out if you missed it, comparing the speeds to Weatherby 6.5 RPM, Weatherby 6.5 300, 264 Win Mag, 6.5 PRC, 6.5 Creedmoor. 264 is the same as a 6.5. So 264 Winchester Magnum is faster than 6.5 PRC, using the same projectiles, much faster than 6.5 Creedmoor. It's essentially, most of y'all are probably familiar with 6.5 Creedmoor. 264 Winchester Magnum using the same projectiles as a 6.5 Creedmoor is essentially 6.5 Creedmoor plus 400 feet per second, maybe even a little bit more. So it's 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC with a whole lot more horsepower. If you missed my video talking about that, make sure you check it out. But I'm gonna get this target up and we're gonna do some group testing. Let me show you the trigger real quick. So, check this trigger out. I'm definitely gonna test it in another video with the trigger gauge, but if I had to guess, it's probably about a 3-pound trigger-ish. Maybe 2.5 or so. Good trigger, good hunting trigger, but definitely not the best precision trigger. But I'm gonna do my best here. I'll set the target up, set the cameras up, meet you back at 100. All right, here we go, back at 100. And we're running the Winchesters first. Full disclosure, I started this video like a week ago and I sent one downrange and smoked a bullseye, then something came up and I had to head to the house. So I'm starting this with a hole already in the target, yes, I'm going to be that cheap, and I'm still going to count that first fling. So let's do a couple groups with this and see how we do with this Winchester stuff. Or have your earplugs in for this one, y'all. Woo, baby. And this Arkin has 24 zoomies. We got all the zoomies. She got some kick to her. I was just flinging 220 Swift, and this one definitely rocks you more than that. And that's still a good trigger though. Man, that's not grouping like I'd like it to. That's probably a 0.8 or 0.9 inch group. We'll measure them with the calipers. Let's do another group of this stuff. I was hoping that stuff would group the best because it was definitely the fastest by far on the chronograph, but that one is probably at an inch group almost exactly. So is that an acceptable group for catching deers at 200 or 300 yards? Yeah, but man, I really like to get better than a 1 inch group. But maybe this thing just don't like the real saucy stuff. But next we're gonna try this HSM stuff. This is a better projectile if we're talking about doing some long range stuff. These hollow point boat tails. That's an old box, and back in the day they didn't really print BCs on anything, but I would assume these have a pretty high BC. These are Berger VLDs. People use these for precision and for hunting. These hunting VLDs. And 264 Win Mag, it's got some speed on it, so it would catch a deer or even an elk for that matter with 264 Win Mag. Let's do a couple groups with this stuff. So far, that cheapo PPU is really doing doing the best by far. But in theory, I think these should do pretty good, but you never know till you try, and that's why we're trying them. Good squeeze there. Yeah. Okay, now we're doing something. Well, that one was close to one of the others, so these have all been good squeezes though, but you guys that watch the show know what makes me happy is when we get groups that are 1/2 inch or better, like we squeezed out of that PPU. But again, that PPU stuff's going so slow, you might as well have a 6.5 Creedmoor. So that slow stuff kind of defeats the purpose of having a 264 Win Mag. Again, that's not a terrible group, but it's not a group that's gonna make me jump up and dance and be happy. But it honestly looks like everything's out of these two are gonna be just inside an inch or close to an inch group. But I know for a fact I tested my calipers and the battery's dead in them. So let me meet you back at the house and I'll measure those groups with my calipers once I get a battery in them. See you back at the house. All right, so back at the house, and I just measured these with my other set of calipers that has good batteries in it. So again, there's those PPUs, 140 grainers. That's the best group that I've gotten out of this thing by quite a bit, 0.44. But again, 2,800 feet per second. That's 6.5 Creedmoor velocities, and there's no sense in having a 264 Win Mag and flinging it like it's a 6.5 Creedmoor. But yeah, it's Winchester Super X stuff. All this stuff was 140 grain, factory stuff I could find so far. These were going almost 3,200 feet per second, so I really wanted them, the fast zingers, to grip good. It did okay. 0.80 inch group, 0.92 inch group, and then the HSMs, they were middle of the road as far as velocity goes. Definitely worth it, but not as hot as you can get it. Not as hot as these Winchesters. And they did okay too. 0.82 inch group, 0.75. 0.75, we're getting close to, okay. That's pretty decent, but this is kind of how I think about it. Nothing that I'm too crazy excited yet. I mean, that 0.7 in the HSM and the 0.44 is pretty good there out of the PPU, but here's kind of how I think about it. So a 1-inch group at 100 yards is a 10-inch group at 1,000 yards. So if my bow light slinger can only guarantee me a 10-inch group at 1,000 yards, you mean you hold the exact same spot and then it's going to be at 1,000 yards here and then here and then here? That's probably really why I try to focus on extreme precision out of everything. Even the cheapest of the bow light slingers we get in, we can almost always find a factory load or hand load for it to really shrink up the groups. These days, just about everybody's bolt action will do pretty insane good groups if you spend the time on it and find what it likes. We've proved that in hundreds of videos. That's literally like the shtick, what I enjoy doing on this show. But that 264 Win Mag Remington 700 Sendero is not a cheap one. That's getting up there like, man, back in the day, that I think that thing was made in the 90s. That was like one of the best ones you could get. If you had one of them Senderos, people would say, ooh, you know what I'm saying? Even 20 some years down the road, that was not a cheap one, secondhand used. But it did okay so far. But hey, lots coming on the 264 Win Mag. I do not have the dies for it yet. I'm going to get them. I got a bunch of projectiles and stuff we can start on that stuff. So we're going to have a whole lot of fun with it. Be cool to catch a deer with 264 Win Mag. Appreciate y'all watching. We're going to do some long range stuff with it too. I'm pretty confident I'm going to get that thing threaded. A bunch of people have told me don't get it threaded, but I've been on the forums of people that have Senderos, and a lot of people say, get it threaded. It didn't affect their accuracy, precision, yada, yada, yada when they had it threaded. So I'm probably going to get that one threaded. Appreciate y'all watching. I'm going to quit rambling. Let me know what you think about the 264 Win Mag. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one. Hootie!
Load it up and get it on as soon as you can. 30-06, 10 mil, 50 cal. It don't make a difference, man. We like to shoot and make a little boom boom. If you like